My whole family, including the dog I raised, doesn't like my boyfriend. When my parents said they didn't like my boyfriend, I thought they were being classist. When my brother said he didn't like my boyfriend, I thought he was jealous of my boyfriend's good looks. When my German Shepherd was barking and growling at my boyfriend, I thought it was because I had him neutered, so he was moody. It wasn't until I was pushed into a pile of zombies by Li Haonan and his so-called sister that I realized it wasn't my family and the dog I raised who had a prejudice against him, but rather that I was a brainless fool. Gu Manjin, aren't you usually so impressive? Just because your family is wealthy, you act all high and mighty, putting on a facade of innocence and hypocrisy. Now, aren't you just being played around by me and Haonan? Fang Fei sat on the sofa in my villa, looking down at me curled up on the floor. Her left foot was firmly pressing down on me, while my nominal boyfriend sat beside her, his arm around her waist, his hand rubbing up and down her side, looking at me with a very disdainful expression. I looked at this scene with a faint feeling of nausea, but after 3 days without food, my stomach was empty, and I only felt sour liquid rising in my throat. For the past 3 days, they have been staying in my villa, eating the food I had stored, humiliating me to the utmost, treating the beatings they give me as a daily pastime, constantly punching and kicking me. Even my German Shepherd, Poo-Poo, has been beaten to the brink of death and thrown into a corner. They threaten me with Poo-Poo, forcing me to kneel and apologize, to curse myself as a worthless person while slapping my own face. They even recorded all of this and sent it to my parents, brother, and everyone in my contacts, for these 3 days, in order to survive, for Poo-Poo. I had no dignity at all. Fang Fei's foot, which was stepping on me, continued to crush my flesh, yet I had no strength to struggle at all. In a daze, I suddenly didn't know whether the zombies outside were more terrifying or the person in front of me was more frightening. I suddenly found it a bit funny and couldn't help but laugh, my whole body trembling. I'm hypocritical. Li Haonan almost went to jail for embezzling public funds, and it was I who asked my parents for $1 million to fill the gap for him. You say you are Li Haonan's sister, and you need to buy a house for your wedding, and I lent you 500,000 without a second thought. It's one thing for you not to appreciate it, but to repay kindness with enmity, you won't have a good end. Li Haonan's face darkened as he listened to my curses, and he yanked me up from the ground, wildly slapping my face. My face felt hot, my ears were ringing, and the taste of rust spread in my mouth. I saw Poo-Poo trembling as he stood up from the corner, using his last bit of strength to rush over and bite Li Haonan's arm. Li Haonan let out a terrible scream, kicked it away, and Poo-Poo twitched on the ground a couple of times before going still. Li Haonan grabbed Poo-Poo, threw him out of the window, then pulled me up and, along with Fang Fei, pushed me to the window. They grimaced at me and said, "Then you can die first," and then pushed me out the window. With a loud bang, I felt as if my internal organs were shattered. I heard the sound of zombies closing in from all directions, pulling at my limbs, their teeth tearing at my flesh. I felt my body was falling apart, and this tearing pain made me more awake, feeling worse than death, as if my blood was bursting forth and continuously flowing away. I closed my eyes, filled with sorrow and anger, helplessness, hatred for this pair of scoundrels, guilt towards Poo-Poo, and worry about my parents' and younger brother's situation, all mixed together. Gritting my teeth, I silently vowed that if I could start over, I would never be blinded again, and if I could start over, I would do everything in my power to protect my family's safety. I feel my body continuously falling, my consciousness gradually drifting and becoming blurred. Darkness seems to want to swallow me. I keep struggling, resisting, using all my strength to rush towards the only point of light. Getting closer and closer, I reach out to touch that light. I suddenly sat up from the bed, my face warm, and after wiping it, I realized I was already in tears. Poo-Poo heard the sound and ran in from outside, whimpering and jumping onto the bed, licking my palm with its drooling tongue, completely unconcerned that it was already a 35-kilogram adult dog, rubbing against me without restraint. Looking at the lively Poo-Poo in front of me, I felt a moment of panic, then frantically grabbed the phone beside me. On August 20th, 2026, I actually returned to a month before the outbreak of the crisis. At this time, the zombie virus had not yet erupted. the world had not yet collapsed, and life was still simple, not having turned into a hell on earth. I sat on the bed like a madman, holding poo-poo and crying bitterly. My throat was hoarse from crying. And then I suddenly burst into laughter. I have truly been reborn. This is a chance given to me by heaven. This time, I won't be a fool, I won't be a saint. I will reinforce the house, stock up on food, and protect my family to lie flat during the apocalypse, safely getting through this disaster. The phone ringtone pulled me out of my memories. When I saw the note was from my boyfriend, my expression instantly turned cold. I recalled all the things he had done, and I wished I could skin him alive. I hated myself for not being reborn earlier. Did the 1 million I helped him fill in the gap with just go down the drain? Thinking this way, I answered the phone. Baby, how is the matter we discussed before? Can the money be transferred? Anyway, we will be a family in the future, and Fei is also your sister. She is getting married and urgently needs money. You are her future sister-in-law, so you should help her. Li Haonan was chattering on the other end, making me feel annoyed. In my previous life, I actually transferred money to Fang Fei just because of the so-called future sister-in-law identity. Looking back, it was really foolish. I actually believed Li Haonan's line of, just a good sister, allowing them to collude with my money and build their love nest together. Looking at the more than 800,000 in my bank card, I suddenly had an idea. My 1 million must not go to waste like this. If it's mine, I want it back. This scumbag doesn't deserve it. Haonan. It's not that I don't want to help Fei. It's just that I really don't have that much money right now. I pretended to reply to him apologetically. No, if not, you can find an excuse to ask uncle and aunt for it, right? Fei has always regarded you as her sister. You must help her. I scoffed, knowing that Li Haonan was angry and embarrassed because he couldn't get the money, even if Fang Fei treated me like an older sister, or even like a mother. I wouldn't give a single cent, but on the phone, I still gently said, Haonan, don't be anxious for now. The main thing is that my dad has a very profitable big project recently, and all the money our family can circulate is with my dad right now. Greedy people are always greedy. Sure enough, upon hearing about a highly profitable project, Li Haonan's attitude changed immediately. Really, baby, what project is it? Can I do it, once I make money, after we get married? I can buy you a better house. He was making insincere promises on the other end of the phone, unaware that he had already fallen into my trap. Of course, after all, you are my dad's future son-in-law, so the money you put in is like buying shares. It's the real estate project in Dongqing, and there will be dividends once construction starts. I patted Poo-Poo's head and assured him confidently, okay, you let uncle wait for me. I'll gather the money and transfer it to you as soon as possible. Li Haonan hurriedly hung up the phone. I sneered and no longer focused my thoughts on this matter. Although there is a month of time, I still need to make full preparations for the impending apocalypse, reinforcing the house and stockpiling food, all of which take time. In this life, I must turn the villa into a solid fortress for the end times, so that tragedy does not repeat itself. Our family's villa is a 3-story detached house, with 2 basement levels, each floor being 150 square meters, along with a small garden and a garage. This villa is located on the outskirts of City A, in a quiet area with a low occupancy rate. A total of 8 rows of buildings have been constructed from south to north, with the first 6 rows being high-rise residential buildings and the last 2 rows being the villa area, which are spaced far apart. The villa area is built at a higher geographical location for better lighting, and looking out from the first floor of the villa area corresponds exactly to the 15th floor of the residential community. During the pandemic in 2022, after experiencing a period of half-starvation and half-satisfaction due to lockdowns, our family developed a strong sense of crisis, coupled with the frequent occurrences of various disasters such as earthquakes, flash floods, and droughts in recent years. We became even more vigilant. All the doors are of the highest level of explosion-proof standards, the windows are made of the highest level of double-layer bulletproof glass, and they are all covered with a one-way film for easy observation of the outside situation. All the floors and walls have been soundproofed. install a whole house air purification system and fire and theft prevention systems. There are 3 surveillance cameras outside the villa, a smoke detection system inside, and each floor is equipped with 5 fire extinguishers. The underground second floor is divided into 2 areas. One half is a water reservoir, ensuring that there is enough domestic and drinking water during water outages in the villa, and it is equipped with a water purification and circulation system. The other area is a battery storage, which not only has a storage battery generator but also a high-power mobile power supply, ensuring the daily electricity needs of the villa. The basement is divided into 4 rooms. The first room is for stored rice, flour, and cooking oil. The second room contains some daily necessities. The third room has some medicines and health products. The fourth room has some bottled water for emergencies. There is a water pool on the roof, used for storing and purifying rainwater, and a small piece of land has been set aside for planting flowers and grass. The remaining area has been equipped with solar panels. After all, sunlight is a gift from nature. The entire villa has a high power consumption, and solar power generation is not only useful but also saves money, so why not? In my previous life, I also relied on these abilities to live comfortably for half a month during the complete outbreak of zombies and the total collapse of the country, until Li Haonan brought Fang Fei to find me. Ignoring the warnings, I opened the door for them, and as a result, the 2 of them brought a group of people to occupy my villa, which led to the events that followed. What happened in the last life will definitely not happen again this time. Jean, are you okay? Did something happen? Did Li Haonan bully you? Why did you rush to call me and your dad back home? My mom rushed into the villa, looking around anxiously, concerned about my situation. Girl, if there's anything you want to say, whoever dares to bully you, I'll take care of it for you. Although my dad didn't rush up in a steady manner, his tone had already torn apart the person who bullied me. Sis, you'd better really have an urgent matter. My internship period isn't over yet, and with just one call from you, I rushed back without even going through the leave request process. The younger brother patted Poo-Poo, who was eagerly jumping on him, and carefully observed my condition. When the outbreak occurred in the previous life, they were all abroad attending events. Although communication was not completely cut off, only a few messages could be sent each day. I remember that when I died, they were all still living well, but during the days I was tormented, those who saw the videos must have been living in agony. I looked at my family, my nose tinged with sadness, turned my back and wiped away my tears fiercely. This is not the time to cry, but to explain things clearly in a race against time. I originally thought I would prepare everything myself before bringing my parents and younger brother over, but in fact, it was absolutely impossible for me to do it all alone in just a month. There was too much to do, so I made a quick decision to call them to ensure that I could make all the necessary preparations. Dad, Mom, Guyao, I'm not joking about what will happen next. You must listen carefully. I told them everything that would happen next, the virus outbreak, the zombies running rampant, that I was separated from them, but I deliberately concealed the 3 days of humiliation I suffered before I died, only saying that I was bitten by a zombie and woke up to find myself here. Perhaps it was because I was clearly about to cry just now, or perhaps it was because my tone was too serious. They remained silent for a long time. After a while, Dad finally spoke. It's better to be prepared than to be caught off guard. Let's listen to our daughter. Reinforcing the house won't do any harm. If there really are zombies, having stored food and supplies could save our lives. If there aren't any zombies, we can distribute these as company benefits to our employees. I exchanged a glance with them, and I already understood in my heart that everything was ready, so let's just go for it. The villa itself is an earthquake-resistant structure, but considering the upcoming zombies and the possibility of bad people coveting supplies, it is still necessary to reinforce the house. The first step is to thicken the walls. The thickness of the villa walls is 25 centimeters, and we decided to double it, embedding 2 layers of 10 centimeters thick steel plates to achieve double sound insulation throughout the house, considering the load-bearing issues of stockpiling supplies in the future. We decided to reinforce every load-bearing beam with steel plates and demolish the decorative walls on each floor to build new load-bearing walls with rebar and concrete. This not only allows for better space planning for food storage but also increases the load-bearing capacity of the villa. The villa's main entrance will be equipped with an additional layer of the highest level of blast-proof door. All the windows will be fitted with an extra layer of double-layer bulletproof glass. Additionally, the open space on the roof of the villa also poses certain risks, so it will be fully wrapped in bulletproof glass. Find someone to check the water storage system, power storage system, and air purification system at home. Although these systems are relatively new and among the best on the market, it's always better to be safe than sorry. Then contact the vendor to install 20 solar panels and purchase 100 batteries with a capacity of 20 million mAh. I thought about it and decided to remove the air conditioners and range hoods on the first and second floors, and weld shut all the exhaust vents, leaving only the 2 air conditioning vents and the range hood exhaust vent on the 3rd floor. Additionally, I will install safety measures and ensure adequate protection, because in the apocalypse, every outward interface could pose a safety hazard. Dad gathered more than a dozen workers from the company to improve efficiency and save time. These people are all old employees, and I almost know them all. They were also the ones who did the initial decoration of the villa. This time he came to my house again, and I was a bit confused by these demands. Dad just said that I had been attacked before, which left me with psychological trauma, and my emotions have been a bit unstable during this time. He insisted on renovating the villa, and he couldn't go against it. After all, the wages are in place, and my dad is their boss. Although they will discuss it privately, they no longer ask much in public. They just look at me with a bit more sympathy in their eyes. My mother and I have also been discussing how to stockpile supplies without being discovered these past few days. After all, an ordinary person is innocent, but possessing valuable items can be a crime. Supplies are the greatest bargaining chip in the apocalypse, but they are also the biggest threat. Finally, we focused on the shop outside the community that is for rent. Although it is only 80 square meters, it is already enough. We just need to take over this shop and claim that we want to open a supermarket, then contact the suppliers to deliver the goods here, and take advantage of the darkness to drive the items to the villa ourselves every day. However, it is impossible to rent a shop for just 1 month. If we rent for half a year, it would be a bit of a waste of money. So after discussing with the landlord, we first paid the deposit and 3 months' rent, and the next day we received the keys. I have neither unlimited space nor unlimited money. If I want to stockpile more supplies, I need to plan reasonably. The existing space in the villa is only enough for us to stockpile supplies for 2 years, which can be said to be extremely precious. If 2 years later, this world is still a hell on earth, we can only resign ourselves to fate. I first contacted the water plant to order 50 barrels of 15L large bottled water and 50 boxes of 24 bottles of 500 milliliters small bottled purified water, then contacted various manufacturers to purchase more items: 20 bags of vacuum-packed flour, 20 kilograms, 100 bags of 20 kilograms rice, and 10 bags each of 10 kilograms peanuts, millet, corn kernels, sorghum, oats, yellow soybeans, red beans, Jobs tears, green beans, black beans, and peas, 30 bags of 1 gene mushroom packs, 20 bags each of 2 gene dried shiitake mushrooms, dried wood ear mushrooms, dried white fungus, dried jujubes, seaweed, dried tofu skin, vermicelli, dried chili peppers, dried kelp, dried scallops, and dried shrimp skins, and 20 bags of 5 gene dehydrated vegetables, 50 gene of beef jerky, 50 gene of lamb jerky, 50 gene of pork jerky, 30 gene of small dried fish, and 50 gene of chicken breast, all divided into small vacuum-packed portions, 30 bags of ketchup, 50 bottles of hot sauce, 50 bottles of beef sauce, 50 bottles of mushroom sauce, 30 bottles of broad bean sauce, 30 bottles of yellow soybean sauce, 50 bags of Wujang pickled vegetables, 50 bags of spicy kelp strips, 50 bags of hot pot base, 30 bags of noodles, 10 boxes of canned meat with 30 pieces each, 20 boxes of canned fruit with 20 pieces each, 10 boxes of instant noodles with 24 packages each, 10 boxes of bread with 20 pieces each, 50 bags of ham sausage, 100 self-heating hot pots, 100 bags of compressed biscuits, 20 packs of soy milk powder 10 bags. 20 packs of black sesame paste 10 bags, 10 boxes of milk, 10 boxes of yogurt, 5 boxes of iced black tea, 5 boxes of Sprite, 5 boxes of cola, 30 bottles of white wine, 50 bottles of red wine, 100 bottles of beer, 30 boxes of chocolate, 30 boxes of nuts, 30 boxes of nuts, 30 bags of sunflower seeds, 30 bags of potato chips, 30 bags of spicy chicken feet, 30 bags of potato flour, 30 bags of gummy candy, 30 bags of jelly, 50 bags of pork jerky, 50 bags of beef jerky, 200 marinated eggs, 100 packs of spicy strips, 50 barrels of vegetable oil, 30 bags of starch, 50 bags of salt, 50 bags of white sugar, 30 bags of brown sugar, 50 bottles of white vinegar, 50 bottles of soy sauce, 50 bottles of light soy sauce, 50 bottles of oyster sauce, 30 bottles of cooking wine, 30 bottles of pepper powder, 30 bottles of sesame oil, 30 bottles of chili oil. Every day this week, watching the trucks continuously deliver goods to the store, my heart gradually calmed down. I have already decided on the long-term storage food, while frozen products and fresh vegetables will be purchased after the villa reinforcement is completed. Dad is following up on the renovation progress of the villa. I am settling accounts and inventorying the daily supplies at the supermarket. My brother went to the car shop to replace the SUV's windows with bulletproof glass and removed the back seat for easier transportation of goods in the future. Mom went to the market to buy daily necessities. The next day, when the daily necessities were delivered, I looked at my mom's shopping list: 12 rolls of toilet paper, 50 packs of tissue paper in a box of 60, 200 packs of wet wipes, 200 packs of daily and nightly sanitary pads, 30 combs, 500 masks, 50 bottles of alcohol, 80 towels, 100 toothbrushes, 50 tubes of toothpaste, 50 bottles of mouthwash, 30 bottles of facial cleanser, 30 sets of skincare products, 50 bottles of body lotion, 100 bottles of shampoo, 100 bars of soap, 50 bottles of shower gel, 50 bottles of laundry detergent, 30 bottles of toilet cleaner, 50 bottles of deodorizer, 50 bottles of disinfectant, 50 bottles of dishwashing liquid, 100 dishcloths, 20 sets of cleaning tools, 50 rolls of garbage bags, 100 per roll, 300 packs of wet wipes, 1,000 per pack, nail box set 20 sets, sewing box 20 pieces, various types of repair boxes 30 sets, hardware tool boxes 10 sets. Medical first aid kits 30 sets, cotton swabs 200 packs, 30 rechargeable flashlights, 30 handheld fans, 30 small table lamps, and 200 batteries of various models, 15 sets of pots and pans, 30 summer quilts, 30 down quilts, 30 mattresses, 30 cooling mats, 80 sets of 4-piece bedding, 30 pairs of sports shoes per person, 50 pairs of home shoes per person, 30 pairs of flip-flops per person, 100 pairs of socks per person. Each person receives 50 sets of thermal underwear, 100 sets of innerwear and pants. Each person receives 50 shirts, 30 pairs of shorts, 30 outerwear, 20 cotton jackets, 20 sweaters, and 10 down jackets. When I got home, I found that the house had basically been reinforced, with only a few workers assembling something outside the villa walls. I asked my dad and learned that it was a high-voltage electric fence being prepared for installation, which would be connected to the indoor surveillance system, if anyone were to climb over the villa. We would know immediately. When I got home, I opened 2 cans of meat for Poo-Poo and took him out to play for more than an hour. In the evening, our family sat together, with the air conditioning on, eating hot pot. One half was a spicy beef tallow pot, and the other half was a mushroom soup pot, beef tripe, tofu skin, duck intestines, shrimp paste, beef and lamb rolls, black chicken rolls, meatballs, vegetables, and handmade noodles were all thrown into the pot. Perhaps because we had been too tense these past few days, the 4 of us were practically wolfing down the food. Go get some cans of chilled beer. My mom waved her hand and habitually ordered us around. Guyao, you go. I didn't lift my head and continued to scoop up my favorite beef tripe. Dad, you go ahead, you're closer. Guyao was there grinning and pushing the matter onto his father. My dad sighed, muttering, "Little bunny," and then willingly brought over 4 bottles of cold beer. "Dad, the house will be finished tomorrow, right?" I opened a beer and asked him while drinking. "Tomorrow afternoon should be about right," my dad said as he served another spoonful of meat into my mom's bowl. "Although our progress is fast, there are only 21 days left until September 20th. Dad, tomorrow you should go to the market to look for home appliances. It's best if they are energy efficient and quiet, such as refrigerators, freezers, washing machines, silent outdoor air conditioners, quiet fans, and heaters. It would be best to buy some more of these. Mom, even though you are retired, you should be able to get in touch with your friends and colleagues from the hospital, right? Can you use your connections to buy some essential medicine to keep at home? Guyao, go buy some emergency supplies and self-defense items, just in case. I will go buy some dog food and canned stuff for Poo-Poo tomorrow. Let's go. We will listen to our daughter. Tomorrow we will split into 4 groups and finish the battle quickly." Dad raised his glass with great enthusiasm, and my confidence grew a little more. In the middle of the night, I lay in bed, watching the swaying shadows of the trees outside and the faint lights of a few houses that had not yet been extinguished. Suddenly, I felt a bit dazed, thinking that this beautiful and quiet world will soon face a catastrophic disaster in the near future. In recent years, the glaciers of Greenland have been continuously melting, and the emergence of a large number of rare minerals has attracted gold seekers from various countries. Initially, the news was about how many rare mineral resources they had discovered and how many teams were rushing to Greenland. Later news reported that some of the gold miners contracted an unknown infectious disease and were urgently sent to the hospital for treatment. Then, the sensational news was mixed with words like quarantine, escape, injury, infection, and warning. And then there was no more news. Just like it is said in the movie Thaw, when nature becomes a terrorist, we are doomed. But for thousands of years, humanity has never learned to respect nature. In this life, I will never be a saint who indiscriminately dispenses kindness. But just thinking about the millions of innocent people who will die in this zombie disaster a month from now still sends a shiver through my heart. Falling asleep half in distress and half in worry. From now on I can only take it one step at a time. When I opened my eyes again, it was already 8 o'clock the next morning. Poo-Poo had already finished its walk and was lying by my bedside, waiting for me obediently. I took it downstairs and found that only my mom was left in the villa, preparing breakfast for me. "Your dad and your brother left first. They knew you were too tired these days, so they didn't wake you up. I also need to hurry and get the medicine," Mom said while serving me a bowl of fresh shrimp and vegetable porridge. The porridge has a fragrant aroma that makes my mouth water. I couldn't wait to pick up a spoon and take a bite, and it was indeed delicious. I glanced at my mom, who was already dressed and ready to go out, and suddenly remembered something. "Mom, if it's convenient, please prepare some medication for infants and young children." My mom was taken aback, looking at me in disbelief, scanning me up and down, her gaze fixed on my lower abdomen. I said, "Why do you look a bit chubby?" "You can't be." "I'm not. Don't guess randomly. I swear I would never have that scumbag's child. I just think it's good to prepare some medicine. Better safe than sorry." I timely interrupted my mom's wild thoughts and perfunctorily pushed her out the door. When I returned to the dining table, I remembered my mom saying that I looked fatter. And the porridge in my hand suddenly didn't taste as good as it did before. I gulped down 2 big bowls and waved my hand to call over Poo-Poo, who was struggling fiercely with his own tail. "Poo-Poo, today you are the boss. I'll buy you whatever you like. Since I have this chance again, I will definitely make it up to Poo-Poo." After finishing the meal, head straight to the nearest pet supplies wholesale market. Poo-Poo's favorite 50 kilograms pack of 6-in-1 universal dog food, 50 bags. A total of 200 cans of various types of meat, 150 beef jerky sticks, 100 vacuum-packed salmon fruit and vegetable cakes, and 50 vacuum-packed raw bone sticks, 50 bags of 1-gene chicken jerky, 50 bags of 1-gene duck jerky, 50 bags of 1-gene beef jerky, 50 bottles of 5-gene mixed freeze-dried 6 quail, chicken liver, beef liver, egg yolk, and Antarctic krill in raw bone meat cubes, 100 capsules of pet deep sea fish oil 20 bottles, 200 capsules of dog calcium tablets 20 bottles, 200 capsules of dog multivitamins 20 bottles, pet-specific milk 200 bottles, 30 sets of internal and external deworming medicine, a total of 50 boxes of various gastrointestinal medications, 80 bottles of large-capacity ear drops, 150 bottles of eye drops, 100 rolls of pet bandages, and 20 Elizabethan collars, 50 dog houses, 100 dog bowls, 500 packs of pet wet wipes, 200 packs of 100-piece pet pads, 30 foldable dog bathing tubs, 50 large bottles of shower gel, 100 bottles of disinfectant, 80 bottles of deodorizing spray, 80 sets of toothpaste and toothbrush, 50 nail clippers, 50 combs, 200 knot-type ball dog toys, and finally 100 leashes. On the last day, we couldn't go out, but Poo-Poo, as a large dog, still needs some space to expend energy. So we cleared out a spot on the rooftop that can barely allow him to run around. Just as I was about to leave after finishing my shopping, I happened to see a little girl coming in with a ragdoll cat to buy cat litter. Although the occupancy rate in the villa area is very low and the drainage system is the best, in my previous life, there were no issues with the kitchen and bathroom until the day I died. However, it is still possible for problems to arise. If it really comes to needing a dry toilet, cat litter is also a good choice, so I purchased an additional 50 bags of 20-pound antibacterial and deodorizing cat litter. I wanted a large quantity of various items. He assured me that they would be delivered within 3 days. I paid a regular deposit, gave the boss the address of the shop, and left satisfied, ready to head to the farmer's market. 8. When I passed by a mother and baby supply store, I stopped the car, opened all the windows, and then rewarded Poo-Poo with 2 small meat sticks, letting it wait for me in the car. But I really overestimated myself. I am completely clueless about these maternal and infant products, so I can only ask the staff for recommendations. 300 pieces of diapers, 200 pieces of urine pads, 300 pieces of bibs, 30 packs of 100 pull cotton soft wipes, 30 packs of 100 baby cotton swabs, 30 tubes of diaper cream, 30 bottles of baby laundry detergent, 10 sets of multifunctional constant temperature kettles, 50 baby bottles, 50 small blankets, 30 sets of postpartum clothing. The most critical thing is the baby formula. Based on my memory, I found a certain brand of baby formula, and when I saw the price, I had doubts in my heart. I only knew that raising a child is expensive, but this is too expensive. But I gritted my teeth and bought 10 cans each of 123 segments of milk powder, and arranged for delivery tomorrow morning. Just as I was about to find a place to eat, I received a call from Li Haonan. "Baby, Fang Fei and I are here at Century Square. Come find us." The tone was commanding as soon as she spoke, and I frowned without responding. On the other end of the phone, Li Haonan continued to speak to himself. "I borrowed some money from a friend and gathered 1.3 million. Shall we have lunch together to discuss Uncle's highly profitable project?" "Okay, I'll be there soon. Wait for me." When I got into the car, Poo-Poo seemed to sense the change in my emotions and kept rubbing its head against my palm. I patted its back to reassure it, as the hand gripping the steering wheel gradually exerted more force. Feeling troubled by the huge expenses of stockpiling supplies over the past few days and with little money left in hand, Li Haonan couldn't wait to deliver it to the door. Since that's the case, I will reclaim everything that was owed to me from my previous life this time. Woof, woof, woof. Before the car had even come to a stop, Poo-Poo was already barking wildly at the window, startling me as well. Then I saw not far away, Li Haonan slowly lowering the hand that had originally been around Fang Fei's waist, truly treating me like a fool, which is why he was so fearless. I calmed Poo-Poo down a bit and only took it out of the car after it had calmed down. As I walked towards Li Haonan and Fang Fei, it stayed half a step in front of me, staring intently at the 2 people across from us. Afraid they would hurt me. Although Poo-Poo didn't like Li Haonan before, it had never been as alert as it was today, which puzzled me a bit. "Sister, Haonan is really too good. Today is my birthday, and I said I didn't want any gifts, but he specially came out to take me to buy a bag," Fang Fei proudly boasted to me. And Li Haonan also kindly reminded me, Man Jin, Fang Fei is also your sister, it's her birthday. And as her older sister, you should give her a gift. This is the first time I've seen them since my rebirth. The two faces in front of me overlap with the two faces I saw when I fell in my previous life, both wearing sinister smiles, and the hatred in my heart surged, almost overwhelming me. I silently repeated to myself 3 times that I must not act on impulse before I could barely calm down. Fei Fei, I came here in a hurry and didn't have time to prepare a gift, but next month a friend of mine is coming back from abroad. And I'll have her bring you the latest Hermes bag. I have drawn this big pancake for Fang Fei, but unfortunately, she might not be alive to eat it by then. Haonan, my dad's project is starting in the next couple of days. Your money. I pretended to be hesitant and didn't continue. Li Haonan became a bit anxious after hearing this. He raised his hand as if to grab my shoulder, but suddenly, Poo beside him pounced on Li Haonan and bit his arm. Fang Fei screamed beside me. I tightly held on to the leash, but was stumbled by Poo. Any commands were useless now, and as I looked at the increasing crowd of onlookers, I began to worry that Poo would get hurt. A man walked over in a flurry, his features strong and defined, with sharp eyebrows and eyes. Although he was very handsome, his gaze was cold, and his expression was unyielding. He walked over, took off his black coat to cover Poo's head, then grabbed Poo's collar with one hand and lifted it up. Poo struggled a couple of times and finally let go. I was startled and was about to say something when I saw the man give me a glance, then change his posture and walk away from the crowd while holding Poo. I didn't care about Li Haonan and Fang Fei still sitting on the ground. I followed this man to my car door, and when I opened the door, he placed Poo in the back seat. When he was leaving, he said to me, German Shepherds are very obedient dogs, they can even tell who the bad guys are. I stared blankly at his back, not reacting, until Poo came over, sobbing softly, cautiously nudging my palm with its head, a bit afraid to admit its mistake for what just happened. I finally connected the cause and effect, as if waking from a dream. When I was reborn, I ran to the bed to act cute and comfort my Poo, seeing the extremely vigilant Poo with the two of them. And the Poo that just turned into an attack mode at the sight of Li Haonan's hand movement. It turns out I'm not the only one who has been reborn. Poo, who died to protect me, has been reborn with me. I let out a sound, hugged Poo, vigorously stroked its little belly, and gave its handsome dog face a flurry of kisses. Poo also responded to me enthusiastically, panting, after casually finding a small shop to drink a bowl of hot rice noodles. I regained my strength and thought about continuing to fill in the gaps in the afternoon. When I was about to go to the farmer's market to buy some things, I didn't expect Li Haonan to send a long string of messages. The lines are filled with insincerity and moral coercion, and the general idea is for me to help him transfer money to my dad, making him an investor, and to remember him when the dividends come. Looking at the phone notification of a deposit of 1.3 million. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. After searching everywhere without success, it came effortlessly, just right to take this money to the agricultural market to continue purchasing 200 pounds of frozen chicken, 200 pounds of pork, 100 pounds of lamb, 100 pounds of beef, 80 pounds of fish, 80 pounds of shrimp. All of these should be repackaged into portions for 4 people, vacuum sealed, for easy storage and convenient consumption later. 100 boxes of frozen lamb rolls, 100 boxes of beef rolls, 100 bags of hot pot meatballs, 30 bags of dumplings, 30 bags of wontons, 30 bags of soup dumplings, 30 bags of glutinous rice balls, 30 bags of rice cakes, 100 bags of 2-pound frozen corn kernels, 100 bags of 2-pound frozen pea kernels, 200 bags of 2-pound mixed vegetable cubes, 100 bottles of honey, 20 gin of goji berries, 20 gin of dried lemon slices, 20 gin of green tea, 20 gin of black tea, 10 gin of monk fruit, 10 gin of honeysuckle, 10 gin of jasmine, 10 gin of chrysanthemum. These can be used to brew flower tea later. 100 gin of potatoes, 50 gin of sweet potatoes, 50 gin of radishes, 50 gin of Chinese cabbage, 50 gin of onions, 30 gin of pumpkins, 100 gin of garlic, to ensure access to fresh vegetables, 30 packs of spinach seeds, 30 packs of leek seeds, 30 packs of oilseed lettuce seeds, 30 packs of tomato seeds, 30 packs of chili seeds, 30 packs of coriander seeds, 30 packs of Shanghai green seeds, 30 packs of mint seeds, 30 packs of perilla seeds, and 30 packs of lettuce seeds are needed, 200 pounds of nutrient soil and 50 pounds of bagged fertilizer. After making the list, I left the store's address and agreed to have the delivery made before September 10th. When I got home, I found that Dad, Mom, and my younger brother had already returned, and all the purchased items were piled up on the first floor. 5 units of 500-liter double-door refrigerators, 5 units of 2,388-liter 4-door commercial freezers, 10 units of air conditioning integrated units without external machines, 5 units of fully automatic silent washing machines, 10 units of upright silent fans, 10 units of warm air heaters, 10 units of small sun heaters, 10 units of humidifiers, 5 units of solar water heaters, 20 portable juicers, 10 rice cookers, 10 electric pancake makers, 10 induction cookers, 5 ovens, 5 air fryers, 3 sterilizers, 3 automatic dishwashers, 30 sets of knives, 5 treadmills, 5 home full-body massage chairs, 20 iPads, 32 terabytes external hard drives, 20 Kindles, 5 projectors, a total of 200 various headphones, 5 water dispensers, 10 vacuum cleaners, thermometers, Band-Aids, disinfectant gauze, tape, alcohol swabs, tweezers, sterile gloves, saline solution, alcohol, iodine, glucose solution, various types of cold medicine, expectorants and cough medicine, antipyretics medications, pain relievers, gastrointestinal medications, digestive aids, and the infant medications I specifically mentioned. Various injection solutions with strange names, and 200 syringes, all kinds of Chinese medicinal materials are packaged in 30 bags each, protein powder 50 cans, multivitamins 100 bottles, 100 boxes of 10 tablets of effervescent tablets, 30 bottles of 100 capsules of deep-sea fish oil, and 30 bottles of 200 tablets of liver protection tablets. Our family has always attached great importance to health and has a habit of regular checkups, and preparing these daily medications is just a precaution. Guyao, where is the drone I asked you to buy for me? I looked at my brother who was moving medicine to the basement. I already put it in the basement for you, let's go and take a look. Hearing my brother say this, I also picked up a pile of medicine and walked downstairs with him. The moment I opened the door, I was really a bit shocked. 30 small drones, 30 large drones, 200 spare batteries, 20 surveillance cameras, 20 sets of various types of door locks, 50 door stoppers, and 20 sets of life jackets, 20 disaster prevention helmets, 50 multi-tools, 100 whistles, 20 radios, 100 boxes of matches, 200 lighters, 50 pairs of military gloves, 20 batons, 20 lightweight axes, 30 multifunctional shovels, 50 slingshots, 200 packs of steel balls, 20 crossbows, 300 crossbow bolts, 40 walkie-talkies, 10 cartridge stoves, 200 gas tanks, 100 hemostatic bandages, 30 telescopes, 50 sets of escape ropes, 20 sets of fully enclosed heavy-duty chemical protective suits with built-in respirators. When I saw 5 black weapons in the corner, I was taken aback and looked at my brother in disbelief. I couldn't believe he had such great ability to obtain these kinds of weapons. Sister, I happened to see these toy guns while shopping, and I really liked them, so I bought them on a whim, Guyao said innocently, even a bit smug as he showed them off to me. I rolled my eyes, gave him a slap on the head, and walked out without looking back. Sister, wait for me. Guyao covered his head and followed behind me, looking pitiful. We transported the items from the store home a few times, and by the time we had organized everything, it was already completely dark. When I came back from taking poo-poo for a walk, I found a black coat in the car and suddenly remembered the man I met in the afternoon. I am a half-face control, so at first, I was solely focused on pursuing Li Haonan. But the person I met today is not only exceptionally handsome but also exudes a sharp aura that is incredibly captivating. I increasingly don't understand why I was attracted to Li Haonan, this complete scumbag. In the first place, Xiao Jin, Xiao Yao, your mom and I plan to visit a few relatives in the next few days and remind the people around us. Dad, one must always be on guard. I recalled the losses I suffered in my past life, and my heart was filled with alarm. Xiao Jin. Mom knows that if the apocalypse comes, exposing ourselves as having supplies is a very dangerous thing, but don't worry, your dad and I are visiting relatives under the pretext of the Mid-Autumn Festival, and by the way, we will use the pandemic as an excuse to have them stock up on food. We will definitely be very careful. Listening to my mother's comfort, I slowly relaxed and remembered the times when my parents were not around in my childhood, when these relatives spared no effort to take care of me. In my past life, I was schemed against, so I was cautious in everything, but I forgot that I could remain vigilant, that I didn't have to be a saint, but I couldn't be without humanity, otherwise, this world would truly become a hopeless apocalypse. In the days after my parents left, pet supplies, maternal and infant products, and agricultural products were delivered to the house one after another. Every day, I drove with Guyao from the shop to the villa to transport things. Fortunately, the villa itself has fewer houses and a relatively low occupancy rate, so it did not attract anyone's attention. On the fourth day, when I was about to drive out, I noticed that there were more people coming and going in the villa area than usual, so I asked Guyao to find out what was happening. Sister, someone has moved into the villa in front of us, and they are probably holding a housewarming party. Guyao hurried back after inquiring. I looked out the car window at a family in the distance. A refined man wearing glasses was carefully taking care of his wife in his arms, while a gentle woman with a smile was holding a tiny baby. This scene of happiness filled my heart with warmth. In the previous life, when the zombie virus had just broken out, I relied on the existing supplies of the villa and the unique conditions to enjoy a few comfortable days. One morning, I discovered a drone hovering outside the window, with a small bag hanging from it and a note attached, faintly written. I opened the window, and the drone flew in. We mean no harm, our baby has been running a high fever, and the medicine hasn't helped. Could you please help us freeze an ice pack? We'll consider the fruit as a token of gratitude. Thank you so much. The handwriting is neat, and the tone is sincere. On the fifth day of the apocalypse, the villa area lost power, but my villa had a backup power supply, so the electricity was normal. They probably discovered this and came to seek my help. I opened the bag, which contained a small ice pack and 2 oranges. It was clear that the oranges had been well preserved and were very fresh. My refrigerator has always been on. Freezing ice packs is really a small matter for me. Although there is still a box of apples left in the villa, I am really tired of eating them and want to try the taste of oranges. At that time, I didn't realize the seriousness of the apocalypse. I was just thinking about building good neighborly relations. So, I left 2 oranges, helped them cool a bag, and casually took 5 fever-reducing patches from the medicine box, found 2 relatively fresh apples from the apple box, put them all in a bag, and packaged it to hang on the drone. Later, the child's high fever should have subsided, and they used a drone to express their gratitude, with a small piece of cured meat in the bag. After that, an invisible good relationship was established between us. I helped charge their drones, sometimes give them some milk, eggs, and vegetables picked from the rooftop on the 3rd floor. They tell me about the situation outside every day, and in return, they give me some snacks, mostly packaged cookies and beef jerky. I guess it's because there is no electricity, so there isn't much fresh food. Until October 5th, I will never forget that day. The doorbell suddenly rang, and just as I was about to open the door, I saw a drone outside the window wildly crashing into the glass. Unlike before, this time the drone is not carrying a small bag filled with snacks, just a lonely note. When I opened the window, the drone almost rushed in. I was startled and took down the note, only to find that the handwriting on it was not as delicate as usual. It looked like it had been written with great effort. Pressing through the paper, hurriedly scrawled, there is only a short sentence on the paper. He's a bad person, definitely don't open the door. In fact, at that time, as dull-witted as I was, They still took the risk of the drone possibly getting damaged and wrote a note to convey information to me at the first moment. When I still saw my boyfriend and his good sister standing outside through the cat's eye, I opened the door. At that time, I never expected that there was actually a group of bad people hiding in the blind spots where the surveillance couldn't capture. Otherwise, how could Li Haonan and Fang Fei possibly get through the hordes of zombies to reach the villa area? I will never let go of those who have harmed me, but I do want to repay those who have helped me to the best of my ability, sister. Sister, are you okay? Guyao shook my arm as he noticed something was off with my mood. It's okay, there are too many people today, we won't transport goods, let's see what else we can do. I pulled myself out of the memories and made plans for what was to come. I first had Guyao drive me to the farthest internet cafe from home, bought more than a dozen accounts, anonymously wrote some posts, and set them to be sent at scheduled times. Completing the sending between September 16th and September 25th, this way, even if someone with ill intentions notices, they won't discover my real IP address and won't expose my location. After that, I bought some fruits and concentrated drinks at the fruit wholesale market: yuzu 50 jin, orange 50 jin, cantaloupe 50 jin, banana 30 jin, apple 30 jin, kiwi 30 jin, lemon 20 jin, dried banana 50 jin, dried mango 80 jin, dried strawberry 80 jin, dried apple 80 jin, dried kiwi 80 jin, dried figure 80 jin, dried plum 100 jin, dried apricot 100 jin, 200 bags of 2 jin mixed dried fruits and vegetables, 500 milliliters of strawberry concentrate juice 100 bottles, blueberry concentrate juice 100 bottles, lemon concentrate juice 100 bottles, guava concentrate juice 100 bottles, passion fruit concentrate juice 100 bottles, lime concentrate juice 100 bottles, green apple concentrate juice 100 bottles, honey peach concentrate juice 100 bottles. After agreeing on the delivery time, I took Guyao to stroll around nearby. After purchasing 500 self-heating packs, 200 boxes of water purification tablets, 300 packs of 10 warmers, 100 ice packs, and 100 mini Bluetooth speakers, I finally ended today's shopping with satisfaction. After returning home, I had Guyao check the surveillance system to ensure there were no blind spots outside the villa. I filled the water in the rooftop and the basement water tank, watered the newly planted vegetable seeds, and fully charged all rechargeable appliances, batteries, and power banks. Then I took stock of the goods in the house again. After careful consideration, I decided to leave some food in the store. After all, there have been constant deliveries to the store during this time, which is bound to attract some attention if the apocalypse comes and desperate people develop a greed for the supplies in the store. They might break in only to find nothing at all, which would definitely raise suspicions. It's better to leave some scattered items as a cover. In the evening, I gave Poo-Poo dog food and water, and also opened a can of chicken and a small pack of freeze-dried food for him, while my brother and I ordered barbecue, milk tea, and fried chicken, sitting on the sofa and enjoying ourselves, thinking that in a few days we won't be able to indulge like this. We should take the opportunity to satisfy our cravings now. A news alert popped up on the phone notification bar, stating that someone in the team heading to Greenland has contracted an unknown infectious disease and has been sent back to the country for isolation and treatment. Perhaps some deafening stories always begin in this unnoticed way. On September 13th, everything at home was basically settled, and Dad and Mom had also returned home. Sister, can't you leave me a little more hair? Guyao looked at me pitifully. Since childhood, apart from being a bit of a weirdo, the most precious thing he had was his hair. What do you think? Although the family used to think that Guyao's hair looked like a bird's nest, they never asked him for anything. But this time, his hair was definitely not going to be saved. Alright, since I don't have to see anyone anyway, just cut it. He closed his eyes and stopped struggling. The first thing I did when I got up was to bring the whole family to the barber shop. Dad and my younger brother got crew cuts, while my mom and I also cut our long hair into neat short styles. In the apocalypse, every drop of water is extremely precious, and we can't let daily cleaning waste it. After leaving the barber shop, we headed straight to the hospital, where we underwent a comprehensive health checkup. Our family has always placed great importance on health. So there were no major issues with our bodies, only my younger brother has a slightly weak stomach, and my mother has a bit of a deficiency in qi and blood. In the end, we got some stomach medicine to replenish qi and blood, and medicine to boost immunity, and after replenishing some daily medications, we left the hospital. In the afternoon, I took Poo-Poo to the pet store, had it checked, shaved its fur, and gave it a grooming. I also bought all the pretty little clothes in the store and replenished dozens of bags of fresh dog food and treats. In the next 3 days, we went to the storage-type supermarket every day to replenish some rice, flour, grains, peanut oil, fresh meat, milk, eggs, and bottled water. Originally, I planned to raise chickens so that I could have fresh eggs in the future, but after carefully considering the environment and feed costs required for raising chickens, I gave up on this idea and ended up buying another 100 bags of egg powder. Although there is no way to raise chickens, it is possible to raise dozens of crucian carp in the pond. They are not large, are resistant to severe cold, and have strong adaptability to hot weather and low oxygen environments. They are suitable for both cooking and making soup. Just buy a few hundred bags of crucian carp feed, and it will be a great success. After enjoying several hearty meals at our favorite restaurant, we filled up the car with gas and finally began the final preparations on September 16th, for people worked together to check the villa inside and out several times. Then I had my parents tell everyone about our family's recent plan to return to our hometown. After that, when no one was around, we removed all the flowers from the small garden outside the villa, took down all the food characters posted on the door, and sprinkled some ash on the door and walls to create the illusion that the place is rarely inhabited. In case of emergencies, we decided not to go out anymore. All doors and windows are locked tight, door stoppers and window stoppers are in place, the carpets are laid out throughout the house for better sound insulation, and all curtains are drawn, not letting a glimmer of light through. Our family is huddled on the sofa, each with a computer plugged into external hard drives, crazily downloading our favorite novels, games, and TV shows. I touch Poo-Poo, who is curled up beside me, and remember how I was lucky to have it, being smarter than the average dog, not fierce, not barking, and loyal to its owner. That's why I spent a lot of money sending it to a pet academy, except for the last time when it had a stress reaction to protect me. It is usually very obedient and well-behaved. Looking around the villa, the supplies have been continuously added over the past few days, and the amount of supplies is almost more than 3 times the original. Yet, apart from the essential living space, there is actually no place to stand in the entire house. The supplies prepared in the villa may still be insufficient. We may ultimately be unable to withstand the long-lasting apocalypse, and there may be unknown enemies eyeing us, but as long as our family can be together, that is enough. The post I anonymously wrote in the internet cafe before has been sent out these past 2 days. The content of the post not only reminds people to stock up on food in the coming days and not to go out on September 20th, but also includes some precautions for dealing with zombies. According to my observations in my previous life, these zombies are more active at night, extremely sensitive to sound and light, and if you want to kill them, you can only rely on attacking their heads. Sister, zombies have really appeared. My brother stared at his phone without blinking, his face serious, and then looked at me in disbelief, handing me the phone. My parents also gathered around to watch with me. It should be a live broadcast by some internet celebrity. It was during working hours, and on the video, a middle-aged man was lying on the subway car, convulsing all over, foaming at the mouth. The people on the subway all gathered around. Some took out their phones to record, while others frantically called emergency services to get him an ambulance. The subway staff also came over to understand the situation. Who knows why the man suddenly got up, his eyes bloodshot, knocked the attendant to the ground, and bit the attendant's neck. The girl who was talking to the attendant had half of her face splattered with blood and let out a terrible scream from shock. Then she started to gag beside them. The passengers who reacted quickly tried to pull the biting man away, and in the chaos, their arms and hands were injured to varying degrees. After pulling him away, they discovered that the middle-aged man had torn a piece of flesh from the crew member's neck and was chewing on it. At that moment, the bidden crew member also began to foam at the mouth and convulse. "Ah, help, open the door quickly, let us out." The camera flips a few times and turns dark, probably because the phone fell to the ground. The live broadcast has disappeared. And only the sound of screams continues to come through. In my previous life, I also saw this video, and the bloody scenes had a huge impact on me, making my stomach churn, and I couldn't eat for 2 days. My parents looked serious after watching this video. After a long time, my dad looked into my eyes and suddenly reached out to touch my head. Jean, I'm sorry that I couldn't be by your side with Mom at that time. My Jean must be very scared all alone." Mom cried as she held me tightly, listening to my parents. The emotions I had accumulated for a long time finally erupted, and I cried out loud. Even though I am already 23 years old and an adult in society, I can always be the child who cries whenever I want in front of my parents. Guyao looked at the three of us crying in each other's arms, and was also affected, solemnly assuring, "Sister, don't worry, I will definitely protect you." Poo-poo also ran over and crazily licked my face with its drooling tongue. After waiting for our family's emotions to settle down, we discovered that various news channels were issuing emergency notifications. On September 20th, a malicious injury incident occurred on Metro Line 3 in Nanjing. According to the needs of the Disease Control Center, metro stations are closed, all metro operations are suspended, and all entertainment and cultural activity venues in the main urban area of Nanjing are temporarily closed. Do not go out unless necessary, and cooperate to do a good job in prevention and control work. A notice was also issued in the community property group, stating that each household should report the current number of residents, reminding everyone to appropriately stock up on supplies, and to return to the community in a timely manner. After 2 p.m., the community gate will be closed, and no one will be allowed to enter or exit. I pulled the curtains open a bit and looked through the telescope at the people from various households going out to stock up on supplies. Because of this sudden news, there was a brief congestion in the neighborhood. It is also because this area is relatively remote and far from the southern district that it gave these people time to prepare. "Mom, report in the community group that there are no current residents in our home. The supplies at home are already sufficient, and we have decided not to take the risk of going out anymore. What we need to do now is to ensure that the property management or others do not know that we are still living here. After all, the more people who know, the greater the risk." Guyao, turn on all the surveillance and keep an eye on it. Let us know immediately if anything happens. Okay, don't worry. Guyao sat in front of the monitoring desk, watching the screen while fiddling with the drone I asked him to buy. I threw a bone to Poo-poo, who was curled up on the sofa grinding its teeth, and then used it as a pillow to lean against. Bored out of my mind, I took out my iPad to watch a zombie movie. When Dad handed me the washed grapes, the selfish character in the movie had just been bitten to death by a zombie. I stuffed a grape into my mouth and couldn't help but sigh at the overly idealized ending of this movie. In fact, in a real apocalypse, selfish people always tend to live longer, while kind but not smart people often meet an early demise. Just like I did in my past life, the gate of the community has been locked, and there are almost no people outside. Various news reports keep popping up, and cases related to the situation have appeared in different regions at the same time. Once a person is bitten, they will mutate within 3 minutes. The scale is large, the speed is fast, and the range of transmission is wide. In just a few hours, it has reached an uncontrollable level. I am trapped in Company A building. There are zombies outside. Can someone come to save me? We are students, and we are all hiding in the classroom. Can you help us? We are trapped in the hospital. When will the rescue arrive? In the past few days, various distress messages have exploded online, but very few have received responses and rescue. Human life is even more fragile and vulnerable than we imagined. Mom, Dad, I know this is very selfish, but our strength is also very small. It's already not easy to protect ourselves, and we really can't extend a helping hand to others. You must remember this. The continuous stream of news these days is alarming, and I'm afraid my parents will make the same mistakes as I did, so I keep reminding them. I understand, don't worry. Are you hungry? Mom is going to make you something delicious, perhaps afraid that I would think too much. My mom changed the subject, tied on an apron, and took a piece of beef out of the fridge. Looking at my busy mother, I surprisingly feel that the end of the world has its benefits. The family can finally sit together for a meal, guarding this corner of the home, without having to worry about other things. When the tomato beef brisket was served, I was deeply enchanted by the aroma. The beef was tender and flavorful, and the tomato broth was rich. I mixed it with 2 bowls of rice and added a bowl of seaweed egg drop soup, only stopping when I truly couldn't eat anymore. I finished feeding Poo-Poo and took it to the rooftop to walk around for dozens of laps, until the moon climbed to the treetops, and then I took it downstairs, only to find that my brother and mom and dad all had strange expressions. What's wrong? I had a bad feeling in my heart. My brother played the surveillance footage from an hour ago, showing 4 or 5 men wearing hats getting out of a modified black car. They were holding crowbars, breaking open the door of our rented shop, and continuously moving supplies outside. My original intention was to leave some supplies in the store to prevent others from becoming suspicious, but when I enlarged the image and saw their faces, I felt all the blood in my body freeze. In the previous life, Li Haonan and Fang Fei colluded with these 5 people. The former pretended to be pitiful and sought help outside the door, while the latter hid in the blind spot of the villa, waiting for the right moment to act. After breaking into the villa, these 5 people plundered a large amount of supplies and then left, while I was thrown to Li Haonan and Fang Fei, allowing the 2 of them to humiliate me to death. I didn't expect that this time I got rid of Li Haonan and Fang Fei, but I still ran into this group of scoundrels. Starting today, we will take turns keeping watch. This time, they absolutely cannot break into the villa, but as the saying goes, it's not the thief stealing that we fear, but the thief's intentions, so we must also remain vigilant. On September 26th, I sat by the window observing the situation outside. The villa area has a separate gate, so there are currently no zombies breaking in, but in the high-rise residential area in front, there are already sporadically more than 20 zombies, compared to the various regions' collapse situations online. We are relatively safe here. Suddenly, I saw a girl from the C Villa area in the front row running quickly towards the gate, anxiously waiting for something. A white car slowly drove towards the gate, and the girl's eyes lit up. She entered the password to open the door, and the white car immediately rushed out at the fastest speed. The sound of the car attracted a large number of zombies. The girl saw that the situation was not good, quickly closed the gate of the villa area, and turned to run back into the villa. I have seen these 2 people a few times before. They are a very sweet couple who come to the villa area for vacation every year. This time, they should be trapped here. Moreover, it is now the 6th day of the apocalypse, and the villa area lost power yesterday. This couple probably ran out of supplies, which is why the guy took the risk to go out searching for resources. In my impression, this couple was very polite. The boy was a lawyer who often did public service, but I didn't pay much attention in my past life. I only remember that someone in the group said the boy couldn't come back smoothly, and the girl committed suicide. Thinking of this, I feel a bit regretful. By evening, I was so dizzy from watching the surveillance that I really had no appetite. Guyao made me a cup of soy milk and brought over some snacks like pork jerky, just as I was teasing Poo-Poo with some snacks. I caught a glimpse of that white car on the surveillance camera and the girl who was already waiting behind the gate of the villa area. I was a bit surprised. Could it be that my rebirth triggered some butterfly effect, and this time the boy actually came back? His car was driving very slowly, and there was still some distance to the gate of the villa area. However, I noticed that there was a black car following him behind, the one modified by those 5 people. Guyao, come here quickly. Tie a Bluetooth speaker to the drone. As I saw the black car closing in on the white car, I suddenly understood everything. In the previous life, the boy had actually arrived at the entrance of the villa area, but he was kidnapped by people in a black car. They not only robbed all the supplies in the car but also rushed into the villa area when the girl opened the door. In the end, not only did it lead to the girl's suicide, but it also attracted a large number of zombies. I originally just stood as a bystander, lamenting the fate of this couple based on the memories of my previous life. after inferring the cause and effect, I was filled with anger and could no longer remain calm. People like them, who commit all kinds of evil, are a potential threat if they stay. Since that's the case, I might as well be decisive and ruthless, making them pay back their debts all at once. I took the drone from Gu Yao's hands and controlled it to hover over the black car. Waiting for the 5 people to stop the car and prepare to take weapons from the trunk when the remote control turned on the Bluetooth speaker. In the quiet environment, loud music suddenly played, attracting the attention of the zombies. The zombies and the community quickly rushed towards the black car. The 5 people, realizing something was wrong and wanting to get in the car, were pulled back by the approaching zombies. The scene became extremely chaotic. And even the drone was destroyed due to my nervousness and poor control. At that moment, the girl happened to open the door, and the boy drove in with a white sedan. Just as the girl was about to close the door, a zombie in the corner had already climbed up her arm. The boy stopped the car, ran down from it, but there was still a distance to cover, and it was too late. He could only watch helplessly. My heart also rose to my throat. After all, this is a living person's life. Just as the zombie opened its mouth to bite the girl, something flashed by in the surveillance footage and hit the zombie in the eye. The boy happened to run to the entrance, kicked the zombie, and together with the girl, they managed to close the door tightly. The 2 of them, having survived the ordeal, embraced each other tightly. Hey, don't say it, this crossbow is actually quite useful. Gu Yao, standing by the window, shook the crossbow in his hand, his tone full of pride. And I looked at his silly smile, feeling a sense of relief. I have to say, the days of lying flat are really too comfortable. Every day I lie on the sofa waiting for my mom to feed me 3 meals, spending time watching various sci-fi movies that I downloaded in advance on my iPad. If it weren't for having to take poo-poo for a walk on the rooftop every day, I would really merge with the sofa. There is a drone outside. When I was sitting cross-legged eating chilled watermelon, my brother ran over to report the situation to me. Looking at the red marked September 28th on the calendar, I suddenly remembered a family of 3 that I almost forgot. In the last life, at this time, I discovered the drones they were seeking help from. But in this life, because my entire house is covered with one-way film and curtains, they cannot determine whether I live here, so they did not seek help from me. Since they didn't come to seek help, I can only take the initiative to help them a bit. A large drone was used, with a bag hanging underneath it. Inside the bag were 3 frozen ice packs, a box of fever-reducing patches, 3 boxes of infant fever medicine, 2 fresh apples, and a small bunch of bananas. The drone was controlled to fly to their window, gently tapping the window to get their attention. The man opened the window and took down the bag. After seeing what was inside, he showed a surprised expression and then called his wife. The 2 of them put something into the bag hanging from the drone. When I flew the drone back and saw the 2 familiar fresh oranges in the bag, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sister, are you preparing baby supplies for them? Why not prepare more? Although I'm a boy, I think what you've prepared is only enough for them to live for 3 or 4 months, right? Gu Yao glanced at the maternal and infant supplies in the corner. Although the quantity was considerable, it was definitely not enough for a year's supply. Gu Yao, you have to understand that your sister wants to help them, not to support them. I looked at my mom in surprise, and she just smiled at me knowingly. Indeed, no one knows a daughter better than her mother. My mom understands me the best. They just moved in a while ago, and many people visited their home during the housewarming party, bringing a lot of gifts like rice, flour, and cooking oil, plus. As new parents, they are very diligent, so they stocked up on a lot of daily necessities and milk powder for the baby, and they don't lack for maternal and infant supplies. I prepared these just in case. Moreover, they kindly reminded me that I should make a return within my capabilities, but as insignificant as I am, I cannot be responsible for their future quality of life or their lives. The villa has limited space, and aside from the necessities for the 4 of us, I can only allocate this small area for these maternal and infant supplies. The phone suddenly rang, and I looked at the contact, namely Haonan. Frowning, this scumbag is still alive. Manjin baby, are you at the villa now? There must be food and drinks there, right? Fong Fei and I are going to find you together. Li Haonan's voice sounded very urgent. as if he was at his wit's end. But it was filled with immense greed. How Nan, I miss you so much. I'm trapped in the villa. There are zombies everywhere. There's nothing in the villa. I haven't eaten anything for 3 days. Hurry up, come save me. I pinched my throat to pretend to sound weak and acted with him, but when he heard me say that, he stammered a couple of words and quickly hung up the phone. I scoffed, not expecting that Li Haonan had reached the point where he didn't even want to pretend anymore. Well, from now on I will enjoy myself in the villa, while those two will starve to death in the apartment building that has already been overrun by zombies. Just thinking about it feels satisfying. On October 7th, I watched a baking tutorial I downloaded online and made a cake for myself. This time, there were neither those 5 scoundrels nor Li Haonan and Fang Fei. In the company of my family and Poo-Poo, I commemorated my rebirth. But the road ahead is filled with unknown risks. And I dare not let my guard down. It suddenly started to rain at night, and this rain seemed to carry a strong sour smell. Even though the villa was equipped with the best air purification system, there was still a faint hint of the smell in the room. I used binoculars to observe the zombies in the high-rise community in front, and found that they not only were unaffected by the acid rain but became even more active, making me secretly feel that something bad was about to happen. Mom, please check all the doors and windows to make sure they are all locked. Dad, go check how many supplies are in the basement, and then move some daily necessities down from upstairs. Guyao, please help me take the surveillance equipment downstairs. Dad, Mom, and my younger brother listened to my decisive arrangements and didn't dare to hesitate. They took action immediately. I hurriedly took Poo-Poo for 2 more rounds to ensure it got the exercise it needed today. Then used Poo-Poo as a cushion, leaning against it while continuing to observe the scene outside the window. In the distance, zombies are climbing over each other, almost forming a mountain shape, surging towards the villa area, and judging by the distance and their speed, they should arrive here very soon. Our family quickly hid in the basement and blocked the door to the first floor with a door stopper and cabinets. That night, no one dared to sleep again. We all wrapped ourselves in blankets, huddled closely together, watching the footage on the monitor. The rain is getting heavier, the drainage system has collapsed, and there is almost several meters of standing water on the ground. The second floor of the residential area has already been flooded, and the third floor is on the verge of being affected. Fortunately, the villa area itself is at a relatively high elevation and has not yet been impacted, but this acid rain seems to have stimulated the zombies, boosting their arrogance. Now there are even more zombies in the horde, forming a large tide of corpses, stacked up. They are actually more than 10 stories high. The public facilities of the high-rise community in front have been trampled into ruins by them, and the roars of the zombies are mixed with the cries for help from people. We watched the footage from the surveillance cameras, speechless for a long time. It is truly shocking. The gate of the villa area has been trampled by the surging zombies, and 3 of the surveillance cameras I installed outside have lost their footage, likely destroyed by the zombies. Our family is huddled in the basement, feeling the roar of zombies and the dull sounds of impact from all directions. Looking at the clearly anxious Poo-Poo, I gently stroked its head to comfort it. The corpse tide lasted for more than an hour, and we were still haunted by it, spending the entire night in the basement. The next morning, while my parents were still asleep, Gu Yao and I went upstairs with weapons to check the situation. Fortunately, I had reinforced the walls before, and all the doors and windows were double thick. Otherwise, we definitely wouldn't have been able to withstand such a powerful wave of zombies. I controlled the drone to survey the surroundings. Apart from a few unsold villas that were in ruins, the rest were just walls or doors and windows that had been damaged. With some reinforcement, they were relatively safe. Just because of the impact of the zombie tide, the number of zombies in the high-end community has increased to more than 3 times the original, and there are also more than 20 zombies wandering around in the villa area. The acid rain has stopped, and the standing water is slowly receding, but the air is mixed with the stench of decaying bodies, making it even more unpleasant and nauseating. But fortunately, a crisis has come to an end. Aside from the zombies lurking around, wanting to bite us to death, we have spent a few comfortable days relatively safely. communicating daily with a family of 3 in the opposite villa about their parenting experiences using drones, and we have also arranged a schedule for taking turns to keep watch at night. Now they have enough supplies and do not need our help, so the baby supplies are still piled up in the corner of my house. I just pack some for them when I see my mom picking fresh vegetables from upstairs, by the way. When I see my mom making crucian carp soup, I also serve some for them, although we gave them some batteries. Making soup is still a bit of a luxury for them. At least my mom's soup-making skills are top-notch, and they will definitely like it. Recently, the internet has gotten worse, and I estimate that in a few days, even communication will be cut off. I was drinking delicious crucian carp soup without refreshing the internet until I saw news of people in various regions complaining about the tap water being cut off, which gave me a sense of urgency. Mom, has our house run out of water? My mom was tidying up the kitchen, and when she heard what I said, she was taken aback, turned on the faucet on the left, and sure enough, not a drop of water came out. As I was thinking that the water had indeed been cut off and that I would open the basement's water tank later and must save water in the future, she turned on the faucet on the right side, and to my surprise, water flowed out continuously from the faucet. Last night the tap water was cut off, but this faucet is connected to underground spring water, so it hasn't stopped yet. My mom saw my surprised expression and explained to me while pointing at the faucet on the right. I breathed a sigh of relief and felt a bit like laughing. When the developer introduced the villa, they mentioned that it was built against the mountain and could access the underground spring water. At that time, I thought they were just making up a gimmick to boost sales, but I never expected it to become our lifeline now. Bang, bang, bang. The quiet villa area suddenly came alive with noise, although the sound was not loud. My intuition told me it was gunfire. Pulling back the curtains to look downstairs, a group of people in black clothes and pants, each with a wolf head badge on their left shoulder, is reasonably clearing out the zombies in the villa area. One person is standing on a car that has been crushed into ruins by the tide of corpses, speaking into a microphone. "We are the National Rescue Team. The zombie crisis is still severe. Please take appropriate protective measures. We will be distributing supplies via airdrop soon. So please pay attention to receive them. Also, please trust in the strength of the nation and the government. We will achieve victory soon." The voice is magnetic, strong, and firm. A person with integrity always carries a convincing power, and the resonant words also give hope to those who are suffering. In the villa area, someone opened a window, and a teenage girl poked her head out, giving them a somewhat unstandard military salute. Perhaps it's because Poo-Poo has a dream of being a military dog. It actually climbed up to the window and barked twice after a long time. The man who was speaking turned his head to look when he heard the sound. In that moment of eye contact, even though the other person was wearing a helmet, I felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity, until they quickly cleared most of the zombies in the villa area, and when they grabbed the rope and flew away in the helicopter. I suddenly remembered that the man was the owner of the coat, wasn't he? No wonder he was so professional when he pulled Poo-Poo. No wonder he didn't call Poo-Poo a dog, but said canine. It turns out it's because of professional habits. I can't help but sigh. Indeed, excellent people are excellent everywhere. Xiao Jin, stop looking. We can't save them. Mom and Dad came over to hug me, unable to bear letting me see what was going to happen next, while I stood by the window, peering through the gap in the curtains at the group of people below. Although I felt anger, a sense of powerlessness arose in my heart. Originally, after the rescue team left, everyone was greatly encouraged. Although they were still trapped in the villa, their mindset had changed significantly. They just didn't expect that an even greater crisis would arise. A week after the rescue team left, this group of people arrived at the community. Unlike the greedy and colluding scoundrels I mentioned before, this group consisted of more than a dozen people, dressed uniformly and armed with guns, clearly organized. The residents of the community mistakenly thought they were also part of the rescue team and trusted them. This group of people first swept through the high-rise community, breaking in with weapons, searching for supplies house by house. If you cooperated with them, they would loot your supplies and give you a beating. Those who resisted would be captured, tortured, and then thrown down from the high building. At first, some people wanted to resist, but after seeing the fate of those before them, they could only give up, becoming fish on the chopping board, at the mercy of others. And now this group of people, after some adjustments, has set their sights on the villa area. This morning, they chose a villa in the front row, and 2 of them climbed up and smashed the window. The 3 people living in the villa were forcibly brought out and are now kneeling on the ground with weapons pointed at them. They are 2 elderly people and the little girl who saluted. The little girl is sweet-looking and very clever, especially likable. Her parents have been working overseas for many years, and in order to take care of her grandparents, she did not go with them but stayed with the 2 elderly people. The leader of this group seems to be somewhat infatuated. Grabbing the little girl with the intention of doing something inappropriate, the 2 elderly people desperately tried to stop him but were kicked to the ground. I thought that preparing long-range weapons like bows, crossbows, and slingshots would be enough for self-defense, but I didn't realize that when faced with truly lethal weapons, I was just like a child playing house. Utterly ridiculous. There are so many of them, and they are so aggressive. Even if I want to save people, I am powerless. And it may even expose my position, putting a family in danger, ultimately leading to death. I trembled all over with uncontrollable anger, when suddenly Poo-Poo ran to my side and gently called out to the window. At almost the same time, a burst of intense gunfire sounded outside the window, and 2 teams were exchanging fire. The criminals who were originally standing on the ground were all beaten to a pulp, one by one falling down. The little girl quickly turned around to tightly protect the 2 elderly people, preventing them from being accidentally injured by stray bullets. I watched the National Rescue Team coming down from the helicopter, concerned about the situation and clearing the scene, and I felt my anxious heart finally settle. The huge emotional ups and downs made me feel faint, and I almost collapsed. Sister, hold on, hold on. If it weren't for Guyao supporting me, I would have really fallen to the ground. The little girl's family could not live in their villa because it had been damaged, so the rescue team called a plane to take them and the seriously injured people from the high-rise community away. The country has established temporary safe zones in the East City and West City, and everyone can drive there on their own. Looking at the man holding the microphone and speaking, with his sharp features, I recognized him at a glance. This time he wasn't wearing a helmet. After watching them leave, I discussed the possibility of going to the safe zone with my family, but in the end, we decided to stay at the villa. The villa still has plenty of supplies for us to use, and the safe zone is not close to the villa area. There may also be other risks on the way. After much consideration, we chose not to take the risk. In mid-February 2027, communication had been restored to some extent, and there was an hour of water and electricity supply each day. But our family was the only one left in the villa area. Recently, that young couple had driven away due to a lack of food, and the family of 3 from the villa across the street also decided to go to the safe zone because the weather was getting colder and they were afraid the baby would catch a cold. When they left, I used a drone to tie a speaker and lured away the last 2 zombies in the villa area. These zombies seemed to be affected by the weather. Their aggression had greatly decreased, and even their speed had become unusually slow. Then my dad and younger brother loaded the remaining baby supplies into their car, and also took 2 down comforters from the basement, picking out a few lightweight weapons to give to them. Afraid that more zombies might appear, we didn't exchange too many words, but we all understood each other. I don't know why, the weather has become increasingly cold. And there has been an extreme cold weather that hasn't occurred in 100 years. I hugged Poo-Poo, wrapped myself in 3 quilts, and after drinking 2 big bowls of the warm winter melon and pork rib soup that my mom made, I finally warmed up. The air conditioner and the small heater at home are both on, and our whole family is sticking to warm packs, all huddled on the sofa, almost curled up into a ball. The projector is playing a highly rated horror movie, and everyone is completely captivated. The protagonist is holding a flashlight and is feeling along the wall when suddenly, a ghostly figure appears in front of him. Knock, knock, knock. Just then, there was a knock at the villa door, and our family was startled. The 4 of us looked at each other, and only Poo-Poo quickly stood up and ran to the door, sniffing around, looking out from the cat's eye on the door. It is empty outside, and there is no one. There won't be any ghosts, right? Don't talk nonsense. I slapped Guyao on the head, but I wasn't sure myself. Only Poo-Poo seemed to sense something, scratching at the door with its front paws and coming over to tug at my clothes. It was only with the drone that I discovered a person lying on the ground outside, probably having fainted from exhaustion. In such cold weather, he was dressed too lightly. Girl, that shoulder insignia of his looks familiar to me. Is he from the National Rescue Team? Dad leaned in to look at the image displayed by the drone, somewhat puzzled. As I hesitated whether to open the door, I saw the man's profile in the enlarged image and made up my mind. I had my mom go to the basement to get the safety rope we bought earlier, and I had my brother hold the baton while my dad guarded the door with a multifunctional shovel, leading Poo-Poo to open the 2 doors of the villa. It was only after opening the door that we discovered the man had bloodstains on him. The water on him had frozen into ice shards, and his lips were purple. He had completely passed out. Then, after confirming that it was absolutely safe outside, our family dragged him into the house, let my brother and dad change him into clean clothes, then took the bag he was holding in his arms out carefully and placed it on the table. Then I listened to my mom's instructions and brought over blankets, quilts, and gloves, wrapping up all the areas where he was severely frostbitten. My mom then brought a syringe and injected him with some medication. By the evening, there was finally a bit of color on his face, which meant he should be out of danger. I stood by the bed and noticed the bag that had been taken off him on the table. For safety's sake, I decided to check it. After opening it, I found it contained tightly wrapped bottles and jars, as well as a hardcover notebook filled with formulas I couldn't understand. These things are very important. I need to deliver them to the military district. The man has already woken up, weakly leaning against the bed to explain to me. Mom brought him a bowl of warm soup, and then our family gathered around him to listen to him recount the events. He is Lu Wenyu, the captain of the National Rescue Team. In the past 6 months, experts have developed a drug that can completely eliminate the zombie virus, and the current extreme cold weather has a significant suppressive effect on the zombies, reducing their activity speed. The military wants to take advantage of this to annihilate the zombies in one fell swoop. The safety of helicopters in extremely cold weather is not high, so a team of them drove to escort the medicine. As a result, a group of people looking to profit from the disaster somehow learned about this news and ambushed them on the way. The other side had many people and held a geographical advantage. Their team had more than 10 members. And it was only after a desperate fight that Lu Wenyu managed to escape the encirclement with the medicine. Remembering his teammates, Lu Wenyu's expression darkened, and the atmosphere in the entire room became solemn. Profound stories always carry a deep sense of courage and blood sacrifice. It is precisely because of the existence of these selfless rescuers in the national rescue teams that humanity can overcome difficulties time and again. Those who survive should remember their aspirations, take on the responsibilities they deserve, and must not let their sacrifices be in vain. We have a modified car in our garage, and we can help you prepare whatever you need. I looked at Lu Wenyu, my gaze extremely firm. During the 2 days that Lu Wenyu was recovering at the villa, my parents praised him highly for his rescue team filter and his youthful achievements, making soup and cooking for him every day to help him regain his strength. My younger brother, who has been a military fan since childhood, admired him even more, and Poo-Poo was probably very close to him because of her childhood dream of becoming a military dog. Of course, I quite like him too. After all, I've always been someone who appreciates good looks. He didn't stay for long. After his body recovered a bit, he prepared to set off, while our family moved the fully prepared supplies to the car. The sky had unknowingly started to snow, and we were covered in snowflakes from head to toe. Xiao Lu, be careful. Ever since they learned that Lu Wenyu was a child raised in an orphanage, my parents' pity for him reached its peak, and they kept nagging him with advice. Uncle, Aunt, I understand, you can rest assured. Lu Wenyu politely nodded in response. Brother, you can't die, you still have to save the world. Guyao's Chinibu's spirit was burning fiercely. Lu Wenyu patted his shoulder, as I watched Poo-Poo humming and reluctantly lingering by Lu Wenyu's feet. I suddenly felt the scene was very tragic. If this were really the last time, I should say something, but no matter how hard I racked my brains, I didn't know what to say. until I handed the car keys to Lu Wenyu and saw him start the car and prepare to leave. I suddenly realized what I wanted to say. Then I told him, "Go fight," and then return victorious. This was both my admonition and my expectation. He seemed a bit surprised, and after a long while, he nodded seriously at me. The car gradually moved away, submerged in the vast snow, while I returned to the villa, looking at the snowy scene outside, feeling that hope is just around the corner in the near future. For a full 3 months, we closely monitored all the news online. After our country developed the most effective drug, we quickly contacted other countries that were in dire straits and provided them with assistance. Finally, we launched an international joint eradication plan, and on May 16, 2027, we successfully eliminated the last zombie in the world. The country and government mobilized all their strength to repair the severely affected areas and promptly settled every individual. Our family also engaged in volunteer service. My father took a dozen workers to help rebuild houses, my mother assisted in treating patients at the hospital, my younger brother took Poo-Poo to be a search and rescue volunteer, while I donated a portion of the remaining supplies after taking inventory. I paid half a year's rent for the shop again. After all, being able to smoothly get through the apocalypse is partly thanks to this shop. And then I moved some things I had at home to the shop to sell at a low price. Things I bought with money should at least recoup some of the costs. The people who originally lived in the villa area have also gradually returned, and life is slowly returning to normal. The young couple with a child looks increasingly happy, and the baby is being raised to be fair and chubby. I heard that the young couple's relationship became even more harmonious after going through so much together. The boy proposed when he was living in a safe zone, and their sweetness makes others envious. They are planning to hold their wedding in the second half of the year. The little girl's grandparents have recovered and are in good health, and her parents have shifted their focus to work domestically, probably realizing that being with family is more important than making more money. What frustrates me the most is hearing that Li Haonan and Fang Fei got into a fight in the high-rise over the last bit of food, and as a result, they accidentally fell from the building together. Sometimes I also feel that rebirth may really just be a big dream. Fortunately, I have this hard-won opportunity to live again, and I have truly fulfilled my promise to protect my family. As for the rest, let them drift away with the wind. On my birthday, there was no cake on the table, only a large spread of dishes, all of which were delicious and fragrant: braised pork ribs, sweet and sour tenderloin, fish-flavored shredded pork, spicy diced chicken, pan-fried cushion carp, potato beef, spicy crispy shrimp, green pepper and ham, and so on. A total of more than a dozen dishes filled the entire table. I was a bit surprised. I had never been treated like this before. It didn't feel like a birthday celebration. It felt more like hosting guests for a meal. But with delicious food in front of me, I couldn't think too much about it and picked up a piece of sweet and sour pork to shove into my mouth. My mom was serving soup on the table, and when she saw my action, she scolded me, which startled me quite a bit. Just as I was about to ask what was wrong, I heard a knock on the door. When my mom signaled me to open the door, I was still wondering who would come at a time when the whole family was at the villa, until I saw Lu Wenyu standing outside in casual clothes, his gaze gentle, no longer as cold as when we first met. I smiled slightly, and my heart fluttered. This house was built by me. This door was installed by me. If you want to pass through here, leave. Before I could finish my sentence, he took out a big cake from behind and stuffed it into my arms. Here's some money for your journey. Lu Wenyu smiled and flicked my forehead with his hand. I rubbed my forehead where he flicked it and secretly muttered to myself that he really is a soldier. His strength is impressive. Then I closed the door and followed him in, bouncing along with the cake. May peace and joy be with you, and may everything be peaceful.